The crowd laughed when a barefoot 10-year-old boy stepped onto the auction floor, clutching a handful of coins. Before him lay a dying German shepherd, once a proud service dog, now too weak to stand. The auctioneer sneered, "He's not worth a dime." But the boy didn't blink. "I'll take him," he said, voice trembling but fearless. The laughter stopped. Every eye turned as the gavel slammed down. No one knew that moment would change everything. Because that worthless dog and the little boy who refused to give up were about to teach an entire town the true meaning of loyalty, love, and miracles. What happened next would break hearts and restore faith in humanity, baking the wooden fences of the small-town auction yard. Laughter and chatter echoed as ranchers in faded jeans and wide-brimmed hats leaned against rails, trading jokes between bids. Horses neighed in the distance, trucks rumbled, and the air smelled of dust and hay. But near the far corner, away from the noise and excitement, lay a German shepherd, ribs faintly visible, fur dull, eyes half closed. A worn service collar still clung to his neck like a forgotten badge of honor. No one paid him any mind. No one except a small boy standing near the fence. Barefoot, wearing an old flannel shirt 2 sizes too big, he clutched a handful of crumpled bills against his chest. His eyes weren't on the shiny horses or fancy dogs up for sale. They were locked on that broken shepherd. When the auctioneer's booming voice declared, "Next up, an old, sick service dog. No guarantees he'll make it," laughter rippled through the crowd. The boy's heart pounded. He didn't see a dying dog. He saw someone who'd been left behind, someone who still deserved one last chance. The auctioneer's gavel hovered midair when a small, shaky voice cut through the noise. "I'll buy him." Everyone turned. The laughter stopped. Standing alone in the dirt ring was the boy, clutching his money with trembling hands. A hush swept over the crowd, broken only by the creak of boots and the snicker of a ranch hand. "Kid, you got any idea what you're doing?" the auctioneer asked, half amused, half curious. The boy nodded, his dusty hair falling over his eyes. "He just needs someone to care again," he said softly. Murmurs spread. Some men smiled, others shook their heads. "Ain't worth the feed," one muttered. But the boy didn't back down. He stepped closer, voice stronger this time. "I have $60, sir. It's all I got." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the auctioneer sighed, tapping his gavel. "Sold to the kid." The crowd erupted in whispers. The boy's heart raced as he walked toward the cage. Behind him, the men laughed again, but quieter now. They didn't see what he saw, not a sick dog, not a waste of money, but a soul waiting for someone to believe in him again. The old pickup truck rattled down the dirt road as the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky in streaks of orange and gold. In the back sat the German shepherd, curled weakly against a worn blanket the boy had laid out for him. Every bump made the dog flinch, but when the boy looked back and whispered, "It's okay, boy. You're safe now," the shepherd's ears twitched, a flicker of trust. When they reached the small farm, the boy gently guided the dog into an empty stall of their barn. It wasn't much, a few hay bales, a cracked bucket of water, and a flickering lantern, but it was warm. The boy knelt beside him, offering bits of bread soaked in milk. The dog hesitated, then slowly began to eat. "Good boy," the child murmured, brushing his fingers through the rough fur. That night, he lay beside the shepherd, wrapped in an old quilt. The dog stirred in his sleep, whimpering softly, paws twitching as if reliving something painful. The boy reached out and rested his small hand on the dog's back. "You're home now," he whispered into the quiet barn. For the first time in years, the broken service dog slept peacefully, not as a soldier, but as someone loved. Morning sunlight streamed through the cracks in the barn walls as the boy poured a bowl of water beside the sleeping shepherd. The dog stirred, his eyes brighter than the day before. "You're getting better, huh?" the boy said with a smile. He didn't know much about medicine, but he knew kindness, and that was already working wonders. Later that day, he walked the dog to the small-town vet clinic. The old veterinarian, Dr. Harris, adjusted his glasses when he saw the faded collar. "Where'd you find this one?" he asked, scanning the tag. "At the auction," the boy said proudly. Nobody wanted him. The vet frowned, gently scanning a microchip beneath the dog's skin. The computer beeped, and his eyes widened. "This dog, he's not just any stray," he whispered. "He's a retired service canine, part of a search and rescue unit. He was injured on duty, and went missing. The boy's mouth fell open as Dr. Harris cleaned old wounds. The shepherd lifted his head at a distant whistle command, like muscle memory awakening. The boy's eyes filled with tears. He stroked the dog's neck softly. "You're a hero," he murmured. "But you don't have to fight anymore." The name on the tag was faded, so he gave him a new one, Shadow. And from that moment, neither of them was alone again. A week later, dark clouds rolled over the small farm, swallowing the evening sun. Thunder rumbled in the distance as rain began to pour, pelting the tin roof of the old barn. The boy had fallen asleep on the floor beside Shadow, wrapped in the same patchwork quilt. Lightning flashed, followed by a sudden crack. A power line behind the house snapped, sparks igniting the dry hay stacked near the back wall. Within seconds, the barn filled with smoke. Shadow's ears shot up. He sprang to his feet, coughing, eyes darting toward the boy who was still asleep. He barked sharply, pawing at him, but the smoke grew thicker, choking the air. When the boy didn't wake, Shadow gripped the edge of his sleeve with his teeth and dragged him toward the door. Flames licked the wooden beams, the heat fierce against his fur. Outside, the wind howled, whipping rain into his face. The dog pulled with every ounce of strength he had left, dragging the boy into the mud just as the barn collapsed behind them in a roar of fire. Shadow stood over him, trembling, chest heaving, refusing to move. Moments later, neighbors rushed from the nearby fields. "Oh my God, he saved him!" someone cried. As the boy stirred awake, coughing and dazed, his eyes met Shadow's, soot-covered, exhausted, but alive. The child wrapped his arms around the dog's neck and whispered hoarsely, "You saved me." Again. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving only smoke and the charred remains of the barn. The boy sat on the porch, a blanket draped over his shoulders, Shadow resting weakly beside him. His fur was scorched in patches, but his eyes, those brave, loyal eyes, still glimmered with life. News of the fire spread quickly through town. Within hours, a local reporter arrived, and soon after, a military vehicle pulled up the dirt road. 2 officers stepped out, one holding a service record. "Are you the boy who saved this dog?" one of them asked. The child shook his head. "No, sir. He saved me." The officer smiled softly. His name was Ranger in Service. He once pulled 2 soldiers from a burning building overseas. The boy's jaw dropped. "So he was a hero? Before me?" The officer nodded. "Seems he still is." A week later, a small ceremony was held at the town square. The crowd applauded as the boy and Shadow stood together. A medal hung from the dog's collar, gleaming in the sunlight. The same men who had laughed at the auction now stood silent, hats in hand. As the applause faded, the boy knelt and whispered, "You're home, Shadow. For good this time." The German shepherd wagged his tail slowly, pressing his head into the boy's chest. The narrator's voice softens. He didn't buy a broken dog. He found a forgotten hero who just needed love to live again.